Right, I'm starting my video by looking at Wheaton. I'm not going to analyze Wheaton too much. I'm going to go back to it. It's just instead of starting with the S&P, dollar yields and all that, I want to get straight to the meat, which is to say the tariffs and everything that caused this absolute destruction Thursday, Friday, and to some extent Wednesday after hours, but not for the miners. It was Wednesday after hours, right? Now, up to that point, a lot of the miners were sort of doing the usual. We were just sort of flagging at all-time highs. Some of them not really at all-time highs, but doing okay. So he announces tariffs. For the market is just unexpected uncertainty, the two of worst combinations. So the market starts to flush. I'll show you what the S&P did. But, miners were okay. And actually, gold and the miners were drifting higher after hours. I thought that was brilliant. You've got the market collapsing. You've got sort of Nvidia all after hours, the big stocks, all the stocks just going down, down, down. It's like a minus three, minus 3.5, minus 4% swing after hours. And they're drifting pretty much at low of the last couple of weeks. And then you've got gold and the miners just drifting higher. Then by the time the market opens on Thursday, you've got so much chaos going on pre-market that even the miners, and I've said this many times, right? When shit hits the fan, you could have gold even sold off, but basically the miners go down with the markets. And the only things really that go up, the dollar, volatility, any stock that's sort of a short ETF, let's say. But otherwise, it's really the dollar, volatility, and bonds. Yields go down. And we saw yields drifting lower. I was saying that there's something strange going on, but I didn't see this coming. Now, anyway, the best thing in the world was Thursday. For me, Thursday was the best day ever. Yes, silver stocks were down like 3%, 4%, but the seniors like Wheaton, right? Getting back to Wheaton. They opened down, not that much compared to the general stock market, and they just went up. And it was the only asset class that I can tell. I know Bitcoin's done okay. It's done very well for Friday, very well. But, the only asset class was just miners. And the seniors ended up closing at new all-time highs. This is great. It's like the most bullish engulfing candle ever. So I thought, and I didn't do a video on Thursday, and I couldn't do on Friday. I've got my kids with me here, and one of them sleeping behind me. But I just thought, my God, the market's going down and we're going up. And look at the way we closed, let it continue. But the thing is, Friday, China hits back. And that's very telling, by the way, that China hits back. You know, the tariffs that were announced was America on the whole world, and then China just counterattacks against America, and that takes the market down even more. You look at the S&P, it's a bigger flush, and that smashes miners. I mean, that smashes everything. It's basically recession, deflation. You look at commodities, silver, copper, oil down 6%. That's huge. And you know what? This is like a macro trend change. So this is to some extent only the beginning. However, I think there are big short-term bounces that we could take advantage of. That's my plan because I was unprepared and I've got to really buy the dip well. And I have been buying into this madness, but always keeping some on the side. I can go through almost how much percentage of my sidelines I use, but it was absolute chaos. But this Wheaton, I just wanted to show how, for me, the tariffs weren't that bad. The next day, it was actually good. I was like, tariffs are good, and to some extent, they are, right? Price of commodities go up, and but then just this China thing just destroys, and that's also well shown in Wheaton. But this was like one of the best case scenarios. The other stocks got demolished. Now, sorry to start off by looking at Wheaton. Let's look at the S&P. So here's your Wednesday, and then straight away you can see Thursday. Unlike Wheaton that started at low of day and closed at high of day and new all-time highs, the general markets just sort of opened, retouched. Because like I said, we were after hours on Wednesday, we were sort of trading below the low of the last 2 weeks. So it didn't surprise me that we kept on going, and we forgot this trend line. Down we go, closed at low of day on Thursday, Friday, and then you got China hitting back, massive gap down. For me, this is your definite bounce level. No, we closed at low of day and we kept on going after hours. So what happens now? Well, to me, the S&P, let's zoom out. This is your all-time high breakout that we never retested. So 480 on the S&P is good, but we also have this ascending. And I think what happens on Monday, and I like to just, guess instead of people who are always vague and all that. And I might be wrong, and I didn't see this move. I think we move lower. because when you close at low of day, it's non unfinished business. And I think already over the weekend, I think America was saying China made the wrong move, and there's no de-escalation. And he's saying, look, short term we're gonna have pain, long term it's gonna be good. I know what he's trying to say and do. Tariffs is the wrong way to go about it. But anyway, I still think that we could have a nice aggressive bounce. Who knows? We could even fill this gap. This is more of a level than the one I just had. And this is no longer a level. Let's take Fridays. But I think we move down. We could go straight through this, hit this, bounce, and on a daily close within the ascending, just under 500, or who knows at 500. But I don't know whether it's Monday, Tuesday. I feel like we're going to have a bounce, and it could take something like a country. I don't know how big the country has to be. Maybe Vietnam will do. But a country saying, okay, we're going to lower our tariffs on you. You lower the ones you've just put on us. And we end up with lower tariffs overall. Who knows? America could just say, okay, the 20% tariff we put on you, I'm making this up, I think Vietnam was quite high, but just imagine whatever America just imposed on that country, it just completely removes. So it's back as it was, Wednesday, Tuesday, except that country has also reduced its tariffs. So now, overall, you've got lower tariffs. And that could be, if something like that happens, the market could be like, oh, this could work. Maybe countries are gonna start doing that, and we end up better off than we were before. And you could have a short-term massive rally, rip your face off. I would love that because I need to trim my position so much, especially because I've added on the way down now. Um, but who knows? This China one isn't going to go away as quickly because I don't think China wants to blink, America wants to blink. So that's also why if there is a short-term bounce, it could go back down again. The market says, okay, now let's see what happens with the bigger countries. But technically, I haven't got the RSI, MACD, but I care less about that these days because as you can tell, when something wants to go down, it goes down. We don't care how oversold it is. But I think one, two, three big days, you could have, three, four, five maybe, and then you have a bounce. So I'm just thinking, time to think about the bounce, not now, but soon. That's the S&P. The Dow, same thing. You got this little 3% move down. We've had bigger moves. Now this was 5.5% on Friday. And look, you got the ascending again, coinciding with the horizontal breakout of all-time highs that never really been retested except here. And we might as well retest it again. So there's something there. Russell's not as good. It's just got a massive, but that bounced quite a lot. So maybe that's oversold. But who knows? If it goes lower, you got big, strong support here. That probably also coincides. Nasdaq, haven't looked at it. Oh, actually, I did. Look at that. Close at low of day just under there. Okay, then another move down. I mean, whatever. The S&P and the down make their little lower move to the ascending. The Nasdaq will find its little equivalent somewhere. You can have any excuse for a bounce. You could say it's a bounce there. Okay, it's there. There's its resistance, all-time high breakout, which is kind of here, isn't it? Same thing. So I think we got a bit of a lower move to make, and then you can start looking at a bounce and then a gap fill. They've all got their little gap fill from Friday to fill. So there'll be some event that coincides with a technical bounce. The dollar, that's the markets. The dollar, yeah, we flushed with yields. We bounced quite well. That was interesting, but I don't think it matters as much. And I was saying yields were the most important thing like 3 days ago, not anymore. I mean, it was significant. We flushed. I thought we were going to flush, but they bounced quite well, just like the dollar. And look at that. We really are at the edge of a cliff to move lower. But I feel like the most important thing to watch now are the markets. Keep it simple. Not even FX, not the dollar, not the yields, not Bitcoin, which by the way did really well on Friday. So that's like a real safe haven, but it's a bit of a weird one, let's be honest. But keep it simple. The markets, Nasdaq, the big stocks. I'm looking at some of the big stocks here. I added to some big blue chips. Amazon. I started positioning Google just because they're demolished, and this is when you would start a position if you are. And I still think they can go much lower, but yeah, I considered that. Right. So now let's look at actual commodities because that was also extremely telling. Because when you've got this big flush, it's really an indication of recession. I mean, I've thought we've been in recession for a while, 1, 2 years or whatever. Uh, but now you've got, tariffs guaranteeing it if it wasn't already the case. You got some Feds already announcing, like, what was it, Atlanta Fed or something, minus 2.5% GDP. And that's before all this stuff is imposed. But now it's like everyone is saying a recession is here, and it's almost a good excuse because it was here the whole time. But now you got the stagflation. You got the economy slowing, recession, deflation, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, real inflation. Real inflation higher than, I mean, than yield. So you've got real inflation coming. So stagflation, which is the worst case scenario, in my opinion. Look at this massive drop in copper. 8%. Jeez, I didn't know it was 8%. 9% in copper, closing pretty much at low of day. Where do we go here? I mean, this is not a level. The retest, well, that'll probably coincide with all of these lines. We might just be going down to like low falls, very low falls in copper. Remember, I think we've got one more flush Monday and then the bounce. I don't know if it's going to be a green day on Monday. We could go real low and then really bounce. But again, there's no macro change. It's going to be something to sell into. If this bounce comes, it's something to sell into. So low, I think you can go a bit lower in copper, definitely, but that's crazy. We made new all-time highs in copper. Kind of like, it's not like gold, but you know what I mean? Massive drop. Natural gas doesn't really matter that much. Oil, we flushed this extremely long-term ascending here, which had held so long, and we just absolutely flushed it. I mean, already Thursday kind of confirmed if we got a crazy Friday, we're going to flush it, and Friday was crazier than Thursday, so down we go. Basically hit 60 and bounced. There could be another flush if everything goes down together, as I still think. You could even flush 60, trigger some stops, and then have a bounce that closes above 60. Who knows? Maybe even green could be above 62. Uh, Now, uranium, by the way, and I added to some uranium stocks. Look at this, all the way down. That's interesting on the ascending support on 20. Wow, that was almost obvious. I should have seen that coming. But I bought anyway. I was looking at the individual stocks chart. Platinum, palladium, flush, but not too much. Let's be honest. All right, gold. All things considered, not a crazy move. 2.5%. And we actually just flushed the low of day on Thursday because that was a wild swing, but in the end, it did all right. And I'll get to the gold miners. They did very well. But look at this. We flushed it, closed there. Where's gold going now? Well, I think we're still going down Monday, but I don't think it's going to be a crazy Monday. I think, well, it is going to be a crazy Monday, but I think it will be, like I said, a lot of stocks will bounce, and I think gold will bounce too. I think 2,950 would be a big move. Like we will test 3,000, we might as well flush it. It's probably healthy. But 2,900 and sort of 60, 50, and then a bounce. And we'll see. We could close next to 3,000. You know what I mean? I'm saying the same thing for all of them, like flush, bounce. And then it's that sort of, is Tuesday going to be another green day? Oh, let's continue this, you know, the bottom is in, but it's just a short-term vicious bounce. So you could have a Monday sort of sideways day or red day, and then Tuesday up, Wednesday up. That's what I'm thinking. But gold, I don't see it going too much lower before we have this bounce. I mean, these are all the levels I see. I mean, you could even say 2,880, right? The low down here. And gold is so strong with so many levels on the way. So yes, it goes down when there's absolute chaos. Everyone knows that. But out of all the assets you buy on the bounce, well, stocks are better at this point, but you can be sure about gold. Now, once we start going down here, 2,800, remember that'll take a few days. You're probably going to coincide with this ascending support. So 2,000, think about it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2,800. If we even get there, that's going to be strong buy. But let's see if we even get there. Wasn't really well spaced out. But for now, Monday, I think we're good, just under 3,000. All right, silver. Silver's horrible. Silver was like, didn't break out. It was too little, too late. And then we had this little like, oh, are we gonna save it here? That was Wednesday after, and again, Wednesday gold also didn't do great. Silver actually outdid, you could say, maybe not after hours, but Thursday, what a slaughter. Silver really doesn't really go down more than 6%, but what is going on? Then we lost this ascending support, but you could say, oh, if there's a bounce, it'll reclaim it. You just readjust the chart and whatever, it's still there. But nah, Friday was the worst day and it just went down the levels. Look at this ascending support, which should have been strong. Don't care. Absolutely didn't care. I can get rid of these now because they absolutely don't count. Just horizontals. This one on the bounce, that will count. This one on the bounce, it's probably not there. It's probably a bit lower now. Oh, it's just before 32. It's not going to go higher than that. So next stop is just under 29, right? 28.8. But then we've got this area here. For me, this sort of 27.75 should be very strong. And that would make sense with everything else going down and bouncing, right? I'm showing you the S&P, the Dow, gold. I mean, everyone's got their sort of one or two levels lower bounce area, but this would be silvers, I think. Just under 28. You don't want to start going below 20. Like 28 used to be a bit of a zone, I think, over here. I mean, they've all been relevant at some point, but you don't really want to start going below 28, to the 26s. Once you're in the 26s, the idea of 35 is like $10 away. But anyway, let's see. Hopefully silver doesn't go down that much. You could end up with a surprisingly good Monday where it's green straight away, but I have to accommodate one more flush. There you go. Now let's look at the miners. Look at GDX. Unlike silver, unlike all the commodities except gold, maybe even gold, it didn't do as well. But this was absolutely standout, like the only sector in the whole stock market, more than crypto, I reckon. It just opened there, closed basically green. Some of the stocks were green by a bit, like 2, 3%. And that's why I thought, okay, so all of this chaos, and you got to be relative, these stocks are getting slaughtered, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% moves in Google, Nvidia, and all this slaughtered, and we're going up. It was like the best. Thursday was the best trading day ever, even though I was kind of flat because some silver stocks were down, some seniors gold stocks were up. It was basically one of the best days ever. I was like, okay, more of this is fine. We can go up 1 or 2%. We could even go down 1 or 2%, but we got stocks getting like the big stocks getting destroyed 10%. Relative buying power is amazing, you know, real buying power. But no, we just absolutely opened there. This China thing slaughtered. Like I don't think I've ever been hit. Though there was COVID, I think it was worse. I remember GDX being down 20. I thought GDXJ was down 32%. The ETFs were broken, stocks were just destroyed, but none of it made sense. That was more chaotic. But the P&L loss that I incurred because I'm at new all-time highs, just 2 or 3 days before, the P&L hit that I took was worse than COVID, even though the ETF was down like 3 times more. So that hurt, and it was completely the opposite of the day before, where I was like, these tariffs are helping us," and it was like, "No, these tariffs are really hurting us." So then you look at the technicals, and it was chaotic. I didn't have time to look at all the. I mean, thank God I've got some of the lines in already, but this one's gone. We did kind of close on a support on this ascending support, right? Just about. I do, however, think we're going low one more time. So I'm going to place this here. I think this is a zone 40, big round number for GDX. We could hit that or just bounce above that. And then we could sort of close unchanged for that bounce that I'm talking about. But I've got to take into account, I can forget resistance. We're not going there anytime soon. The next support would be there, and the next one would be there, etc., etc. Let's do GDX. I'm just going to have to look at it like that. Levels on the way down, even though I think we're going one level low and then bouncing, and let's see where we close. SIL destroyed even more because it's silver, and silver got destroyed way more than gold. That was your ascending. We've lost it. I can delete that. Here's your zone. That's too close. We could even flush more. I'll lower it. It's not by much anyway. Just below 34, a little bounce. If we go lower, I just feel like this is too much of a flush. Who knows? Maybe. Look how many times we hit this area. Maybe 32.5 is okay on SIL. Okay, let's look at GDXJ. Here's done okay. Quite surprising. I'll leave this one in. That is an area of resistance, even though I went straight through on Friday. That might be an area of resistance on the way up 53. Let's see. If we go lower, we've obviously got this zone here. That's too far away. Maybe even something like this. That's also quite far away. I don't want to put too many lines. We'll see. But it is GDXJ. It might overshoot to the downside just in case. But Those are levels I'm looking at on the way down. This is now relevant. Yeah. And then we bounce, and I'm selling. The one thing I'll be doing is selling into the pop so much, unless again there's another change in the macro, like well, like I said, in case some countries start to negotiate and agree, like imagine China just says, okay, we will reduce um sort of proportionally to America, and we'll go down to a better situation than before. That would just that's it, new all-time highs. That'd be amazing, but incredibly unlikely. SILJ, well, that makes sense. It was the weakest one the whole time. The junior silvers went straight through ascending support. Now we've got this area. That's next. That's next. That's, yeah, they're all accounted for. And if we have one more flush, well, who knows? We could even hit below 10 at one point, and then let's see if we can reverse. That would be good, like a nice flush out 10 reverse and then close green. Very optimistic, but let's see. All right, now let's look at the portfolio update. Oh my God. I mean, I've processed everything, I lost 5 figures on Friday. That is basically never happened. I think COVID at one point I was down 5 figures, but I think it closed 4 figures rather than five, but this one was five. All right. Newmont, I mean, yeah, down 8.5%. What are you gonna do? At least they had a good Thursday. Not all of them had this kind of a Thursday. So I thought this was amazing, right? Like, oh, Friday, the chaos continues. We're gonna start going into the 50s whilst Nvidia's going down 10% and Amazon's going down 10%. And I was like, this is amazing. But no, flush we go. We're at ascending support. I'm going to leave this horizontal because if we still go down a bit more, we're outside the ascending, it'll become the real resistance, the horizontal. So I'm leaving them in. But yeah, I think all the support levels are already highlighted. One, two, three, four. I don't know how long we go. We probably could just go down to 42 if we have that extra flush day I'm talking about. And then on the way up, I'll be selling the ascending. Well, yeah, the ascending, but really the horizontal resistance levels. Barrick Gold completely lost its ascending. Forget that. Um, well, this would be okay. One more flush down to like low 17s. That would be okay. I think these two, I don't think we're going to go lower than that on Monday. And on the way up, the horizontals, which are not that easy to identify in this chart. In fact, they might be wrong. This one didn't really count at all. I'm not sure. I think I'll leave it like that. When I'm not sure, I prefer to keep it clean. It might be obvious later. Or I'll sell according to GDX. But those are the two levels we could flush to. Close kind of near low of day. So that's what I'll keep for now. Agnico, another one just like Wheaton. All these seniors, Newmont, Barrick, Agnico, Wheaton, Franco-Nevada. If they weren't silver stocks, they basically had a green day almost when everyone was down huge. So it's just this Friday. So here we go. Agnico Eagle, one of the best, down 8.5%. And you'd think I'm buying the hell out of it, but when you look at where it is, I was zooming out thinking, yeah, it's the best one. Yes, you should, without thinking, buy Agnico Eagle, but it could come down a lot more. I still bought it though. I still nibbled. I was nibbling the best. Let me just tell you now, I was nibbling the best. If you've got EXK, which I haven't got to yet, down 10%, and that's been destroyed already, so fair enough. But if you've got like mid-tier risky silver stocks down 10, 11%, and you've got Agnico down 8.5, you just buy Agnico. Who cares about the silver stocks? The silver stocks I'm gonna buy when I really think the bottom is in, and it could be a Monday. And I have actually bought them a little bit of all of them. But the gold stocks, those I buy a bit more, even though they are more valuable. I put more into them just because they're dependable. They're gonna survive a lot more easily. So anyway, I've nibbled Newmont, Barrick, Agnico, all of them. All right. I don't even have to say it. Every time I visit a new stock, I nibbled it. Small amounts, but all together is worth quite a bit. This one here, we've lost ascending support. This little $100 breakout zone, or maybe it was 99 point something, we're kind of there, right? I'm kind of cheating, readjusting it, but it's the same thing, right? 100, we're kind of there. The point is, if we have a flush and everything, and you'll be able to tell very quickly, we're going to go another level lower. Where is that level? I feel like there's something here at 94, but I'm just going to leave this one in. When in doubt, put the lower one in. Um, nah, I still see something there. It's still quite a big move to request something like around here, like all these tails here. But otherwise, those are the levels. And then here's your real breakout zone that we haven't retested, right? Real breakout, like all-time history trend line of 89, 88. Don't think we're getting there. That's a massive move down. But in case we do, let's make sure I don't forget how important it is. All right, Wheaton, the one I showed you at the beginning, new all-time highs, venturing all the way up here, which I sold. Remember, my sell was 79.99. That was my absolute last sell for Wheaton. I said I'd leave it alone. Well, I got that, and the next day it's down at 70. That's ridiculous for Wheaton, but amazing trading, lucky trading. So here where's your breakout level? Is it here because of this? I don't really see it here. Here's the bottom of the consolidation. I'm just gonna leave it. I think it'll be obvious. It probably is around 68 or something, but I'll just trading according to GDX. When I don't have a level, it'll be GDX that does it for me. But this is, Wheaton, Agnico, especially those two, Wheaton and Agnico are just probably the best two stocks to own in the precious mining world. So even though they're absolute new all-time highs and they're not destroyed like the silver stocks, it's for a reason. And in the end, it's not where it's been, it's where it's going. And I think when the dust settles, these will just make new all-time highs guaranteed. Unlike the others, there's no guarantee that comes for them or any stock, but still. So this one I'm just removing. Let's see where it goes, but I've already added to it. I forgot where. It was such chaos. I absolutely forgot where. I don't have interactive brokers open, so I can't check everything. Right, Frank, I don't know, is that enough for Wheaton? I'll be selling the way on the levels up, so this will be your first and only level on the way up if there is a sort of bounce, an early bounce. And who knows, actually, if maybe there is some sort of a retest here that I can't see, but we could start testing below 70 and then we start to bounce and then there's a move up. I'll be selling before 74. Definitely selling here. I'm selling like in the end, I want it to be worth less than it was before, and it's going to be worth a lot more because I'm buying the dip at the same time. Next one, Franco Nevada, another one just like Wheaton. That's been really strong recently. Also one that I trimmed on Thursday, and then the next day it's there. And I was buying this one a lot towards the close because this was making new lows whilst everyone else wasn't. And actually, that's a bad sign. But I was just like, screw it, buy it, buy it. I remember it was like high 140s, and I was thinking about nibbling. And next thing I know, it's like 140, yeah, like 145 or something. I thought, okay, buy it. Where does it go? Because this is retest zone also. So now is where you buy it, and I've done that, and it's actually closed the low of day. Next level is gonna be it's a long way down, but yeah, sort of 138. And if it gets there, I'm gonna start getting a bit more aggressive. These levels, I mean, these are old levels. Good thing I kept them in. I had no idea we'd revisit them. Yeah, that'll do for now, huh? That's what I got for Franco Nevada on the way down. And on the way up, I also have them marked still. Well, that's not gonna count anymore. Retest of the ascending. It's yeah, very weak towards the close, but Metalla, to be honest, Metalla just the worst stock in the world. But on Thursday, it did do a bit of a surprising nice candle. And I thought it'd be one of the weak ones because we had quite a few that were down. But yeah, had a nice candle. And here we go, retesting old zone on Friday. That's fair enough. I would have guessed it'd be down here at 250 by now, actually. But that's where it will be on Monday if we do have a bit more of a flush. And then who knows, we could bounce and have a nice hammer. And now it could be a constructive move back to 290. And I think 290 is more your resistance than three. So let me just highlight that now before I don't have the time to recognize it whilst trading is ongoing and things are too crazy to recalibrate. Those are the levels I'll be looking at. Okay, now let's look at the silver stocks damage. So things are looking so good. Small retracement. And this one had an okay Thursday. It's not a real green candle. It's got to be all the way up here, closing above Wednesday's high of day. So it was a red day, but not bad. Closing the gap, from the open, even venturing higher and closing there. Again, I thought that we were going to continue on Friday because the trend had just started and that was the reaction. But that Chinese hit, boom. Next, I'm not in a hurry to get in these silver stocks. Yes, they've been destroyed. I've nibbled a little bit out on the way up, nowhere near as much as I should have, obviously. But on the way down, I'm not in a hurry. And I think this can get to your 520 zone as it has before, especially Monday. Another flush, another silver down, 3, 4, 5%. We could hit that. Then you buy. Then I'm going to buy and look for an aggressive bounce. And then I'm going to sell nice and strong, not nibbling out. Like instead of nibbling out 2 to 5%, it's going to be 10%, another 10%. It goes up a bit more, 10%, 10%, 10%. Like I think we're going to go low. And if it does, what a difference my portfolio will be in with all this sidelines money and like, First Majestic being worth 2K instead of 4.5. I would cheer a move down. I would love to lose money with only that much in these stocks rather than a heavy bag. And then when it goes down, buy the low again, hopefully try and time it. And because I can never be sure, I will just do it in tranches again, 10%, 10%, 10% across the board. It's going to be a lot of focus required, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 charts open, judging on GDXJ or silver and looking at the S&P, go, go, go. Not looking at the dollar, not looking at yield, just S&P, GDX, silver, and then it depends on the stock. Maybe SILJ, maybe GDXJ, it kind of depends. But yeah, keep it simple, 3 or 4 stocks maximum to judge the entry in particular stocks. So yeah, here I'm looking for down there. And on the way up, well, definitely this zone. But to be sure, I might lower it. Maybe $6 would be something. But let's keep it rough. 620, and I think last time it was 580. This time I don't think it'll be 580. I think it'll actually be 6. And that's it. So 599 or 596 or something just to make sure I get filled. If it keeps going, bam, 619. If it keeps going up, bam, 639. And this time maybe even more, like heavy on the way up. But for now, I'm looking for 520 and that's it. That's it. I already added anyway. Okay, next one is Fortuna. This one has been super strong. Thursday was also good. Friday went down pretty hard, but it's still really high up. So I'm not in a hurry to buy this one. I don't want to be the person who looks for the most destroyed stock and gets into that one. There's a reason it's destroyed. It'll probably get even more destroyed. So this is a good buy the dip candidate. I'm just not comfortable doing it yet. I think you zoom out, it still looks pretty good. It mustn't look that good for me to enter it. Maybe some ascending will help. I don't know. Let's add that in anyway, but it's hard to call. $5, not really. There's nothing really there. Something more here. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it. All right. I'm just not gonna touch Fortuna. I think I'll touch another one. I prefer to sell Fortuna on the way up. Nibbles, because it's a good stock, but maybe not buy the dip of this one. CDE